Hi everybody. Think we're all set here. Think the audio levels look good. Okay, awesome. Thanks everybody for being here. I see there's quite a few who are here already, so that's appreciated. We're gonna go through the new NerdSEQ firmware in as much as I'm able to anyway. I believe Thomas from XOR Electronics is actually also here too to answer any questions you have, or undoubtedly I will have. You know, for those of you who are on my streams regularly, you kind of know how this tends to go. One sec. Mic is a little bit messed up. Okay. Let's see. Just 1 second here. Let me make sure I have my chat. Yes. Okay. So, a bunch of stuff has changed with 1.22 in a lot of very good ways. So, if I just quickly grab my notes here and we'll get started. I'm starting from a completely blank pattern, sequence, etc. project. There's nothing new about it at all, so we'll build this all this stuff here up from scratch. Just give me 1 sec. Okay, so let's start from here. First new thing that's been added. And hi everyone, no worries for organizing it live. First thing that's been added is now there's a new project option, which is nice. We're gonna do this just to be sure that we're really, really on a new project. Woohoo. That's a nice feature that wasn't there before. So a couple of other more general features that have been added. Pattern navigation. So let's set this up and let's just create a couple of new patterns for sake of argument. Before, if you wanted to navigate between them, you had to be pattern, and now you're looking at one pattern, now you're looking at the other pattern. But now when you're in here, you can actually hold pattern, and if you watch, you can navigate between patterns from inside of the pattern screen, which is a major quality of life improvement as far as I'm concerned. The same thing exists for tables, and we'll get to all of the amazing changes to tables a bit later on. Is the stream broken or is it me? What's not working for you? So other things that you can do. There's been a stop sequence sort of thing, or stop, added in. If you hit Shift Delete, you end up with this double star. So by default, you probably know when you're using NerdSEQ, this will play and will continue playing and playing and playing. If you add this though, it'll stop the whole thing when it's done. So nice to get a one shot that's more than one pattern in length. So that's one thing. Okay, I'm glad it's good for everyone else. Other general things that have been added. Let's look at pattern length. This is very nice. So, we'll go into just one of these patterns. So previously, when you made a pattern, right, if you wanted it to loop automatically, you'd have to go into FX and use up an FX slot and drop a break or a jump back to the beginning, right? You don't have to really do that anymore, because now you can go into the Nerd menu and you can change the pattern length. So, I don't know, let's make it 0.8, sure. Hit OK, back to the pattern. Now it has this length. I have rings hooked up on channel, on the CV and trigger out here, so let's just make a really simple little pattern just to demonstrate. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Oops. Of course, we need to get rid of this other pattern because we weren't using that. So here we go. Good. I'm glad it was your end and not us here. Oops. Of course, I deleted the wrong pattern. Set this up again. Pattern 0. There we go. So now we're looping and we don't need a break. So frees up an FX slot. Super awesome. Hi, Forestine. So other general changes that are sort of related to that. There were previously a lot of things that you could do, like shifting around patterns, flipping rows, random orders, and whatnot, that wouldn't apply to the mark, but now it does. So if you mark something here, then I can go into the nerd menu and say shift up and down, for instance. Back to the pattern, it's shifted. Same thing if I go into here and do the flip rows. It's flipped. And if I go into here and do the random order rows, same thing, randomized order. So that's nice. Again, more quality of life stuff more than anything else. Another thing where that's now applied is in the Euclidean patterns. So if I quickly set this up, the track assign, and I'll put track 2 on my trigger one, which is the only place where you can do Euclidean. We'll set that. Pattern length also has a live sync option if you hold OK while changing. Ah, cool. Thanks for that little tidbit. Okay, so this is now our trigger expander channel. So if we were to go in here as usual, you can generate Euclidean patterns, but I mean, the problem was before that the Euclidean pattern that was generated was like this. It's across the entire length of the pattern, right? And you couldn't change the pattern length. So if we get all that done. Now, if we're in this pattern, we can of course go as before and change the pattern length. Oop. So let's make it again 0.8. If I hold OK, okay. So now it's much shorter, and now Euclidean is constrained to the pattern length, which is great. If you're looking for interesting beats, this is the way to do it. All right, just one sec. I've got my notes here, and I've got to stop my phone from locking on me constantly. Okay. All right, so we went over all of that. Now, one other thing that's cool that's been added. So some people on the forums I noticed, and I noticed this problem too, were talking about how there's a separate FX for trigger probability and for CV probability, which can create some weirdness because they don't necessarily both apply at the same time. So you can have a trigger fire but no CV update, or a CV change but no trigger firing, which can cause some weirdness with oscillators like rings, for instance, that triggers also on a volt per octave change. So now there is, and I gotta find it. Actually, let's do it just to be sure on this one. Now there is, okay, it's in here. It was just in a slightly different place as I recall, so let me find it, hang on. Modulate. Where is it? There it is, row probability. So now it's actually the probability of the entire row itself firing, right? So not only the note, but like the patch, the table, etc., etc. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Thomas, that I think row probability also affects all of the FX slots that are in that row too. So that kind of solves that problem of the separate CV and trigger effects while also giving you a bit more. So I don't believe you can use the trigger pattern mode without the trigger expander, no. Again, Thomas can correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, that's pretty handy. Okay, so those, for me, were kind of the major quality of life improvements and like general across the board kind of improvements. Except for FX4. Okay, good to know. Everything except FX4 for the row probability. Cool. Let's get into some of the more major big features that got added. One of which is you probably heard about it, is the 8 ADSR envelopes. So you get to that under the automation side of things, under automate, but you hit it a second time, and now you get to these envelopes. There's 8 of them. They can all be set in different modes, so let's just go through it. You have your normal attack, decay, sustain, release, which you can change all of these to 0 if you want to. There's different types that you can change between. One shot just plays the envelope straight through when it's triggered. ADSR is based on gate. So if the gate's high, it'll stay in the AD phase. When the gate goes low, it drops into the SR phase. Or you can have it in a loop to sort of make a strange LFO. Oh, the Euclidean stuff is planned for the regular triggers. Excellent. I'm very happy to hear that. All right. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can set, with the envelopes, you set a source and destination. So there's a lot of sources in here. You can take it off gates from individual channels and from the sample channels, which have now been changed to audio channels, by the way. We'll get into that later. It also can come from the CV ins, and you can chain together envelopes. So you can say, I want these two envelopes to fire simultaneously if you do it at the chain from the start. But you can also use the end. So you could have a very long envelope, almost like Zadar style, that is a chain of 8 different ADSRs together if you wanted to, which is crazy. And I believe... Oh yes, and then you can also have it completely clone the other envelope if you want to have an exact duplicate. And I believe that's it, yeah. So that's in terms of the sources. The destinations, in here, there are a certain set of destinations. So you can send it out to the CVs, the mods, the volumes of the individual sample tracks, which we'll do later. Pitches of the sample tracks, bit crush of the sample tracks, distortion, wave folding of the sample tracks. And then as if that wasn't enough, you can also set an envelope. Oh, the menus are not readable. Maybe not. Okay, we'll see. We'll change where some of these lights are. That might help a little bit. Okay, so as I was saying, the other thing that you can do here is set an envelope into an automator, which is cool. So if you pick an envelope, you can now use the down button to get into the extra settings. Choose whichever envelope you want. You can apply some amount of FX to this, like inverting the envelope, changing the amplitude, changing the bit rate of it. But then additionally, you can now also set a whole bunch of other, like the standard sort of output destinations that you might have for any other automator. You can send it to them as well in this whole mod matrix. It's the same envelope, it's triggered the same way, it's just there's additional output options this way. But wait, there's more. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like going through this a lot of the time, so it's great. We'll get into the uses of this envelope set up in a minute because, so as I mentioned, there is the individual sources in here, but you can also trigger it via an FX block. There's an FX block for each envelope just to trigger the envelope. We already did the automator stuff. Okay, so let's get into the sampling because we'll apply the sampling stuff back into the envelopes here. So as I was saying, the sample tracks are now actually called audio tracks instead, and the reason for that being they can both do audio and they can do samples. So there is actually oscillators built into this now. So let's create a track or a pattern rather, and let's just make sure it's short. Oops. Okay. And we'll just set up something relatively simple again. Make it a little bit more varied. Okay, so there's multiple ways that you can do it. You can select it through this sample thing here. If you notice that eventually when you scroll through the samples, you get into sines, triangles, ramps, sawtooth, pulse, and noise. So these are your oscillators now. So if we set these all, for instance, to this, and I've got this output set up here. Oh geez, you really want Comic Sans on here? Oh god. So let's play this. So you might notice that it's just like a normal oscillator, as in even when you just stop the pattern, the oscillator is permanently playing. So, you know, what would you want for this to make it stop playing? Maybe a VCA? I wonder how you might get that. Oh, well, envelopes. So you can do this. go into one of your envelopes, set the source as track 7, which I was on, audio 1, so the first sample slot that's on there, or first, you know what I mean, you can play 2 sample slots, or 2 samples from one track. That's the source, and set the destination to the volume out. And now if I play this again, oops, hold on a second. Track 7, audio 1, destination volume 1. Oops, I need to hit OK to set up the routing. Now we have an envelope, so we can mess around with this, and let's see what we get. Oh, they were already there. Okay. Oh yeah, of course, because the what was added was what we'll also get into, which was the 4 operator FM thing. But yeah, so now you've got really an entire voice coming out through the sample side of things. I mean, you might need a filter and things like that. Maybe one day we'll get a filter FX, but yeah, that's how you can set up envelopes attached to the samples, which is really great. Okay, so we did that. We looked at the waveforms. Let's go back to the pattern. I'm going to delete some notes here. And let's delete this one too. So other things that got added. There is a wave folder FX now. Let's find it. Of course, and as this is, this applies to everything. So, but there's now a wave folder FX. There's also what I think is really cool, which is where is it? Delay. This delay is really neat. So it's sort of split into 2 parts. You have to control the first set of bits here to choose like sort of the category of thing that you're controlling, and then the second set of bits is the value for that category. So like the delay type, the time, the send, the feedback, for instance. So delay type, let's use a lo-fi delay, and delay time, let's make it a little longer. Send some into the delay, and give it a bit more feedback. Yeah, I'd imagine. The amount of stuff that you've managed to cram into a very small amount of space on this thing is pretty impressive, so yeah. I mean, delay, this is already cool. So now there's even an effect based into this, or built into this. And I suppose you could fake a filter with the FM, you're right. So yeah, that delay is new. There's a few different, let's go through some of the different types. This is a lo-fi. More lo-fi. Very fast delay. And a high quality but short one. All right. We already went over that stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the FM, which is the other new thing that got added. I'm going to caveat this by saying that I am by absolutely no means an FM master. I'm just going to show you what the manual has set up. So the manual has 2 really great examples of doing 2 operator and 4 operator FM. So we're going to set up the 2 operator FM and based on the manual, and we'll see how this works. So in order to do this, you need to go, into track setup and change these samples. So to set up the 2 operator FM, you have to set the modulation source here to FM from operator 2. Change, make sure you mute the second sample and say clone the notes from 1. And now you got FM. You can of course change the volume to change the amount, change the course if you want to. Really? That's a new one I haven't seen. Press the patch button twice. Haha, nice. Thanks for that tip. That's handy. Yeah, so now I don't know what FM boost does. Oh. All sorts of gnarly stuff you can make out of this. Change the yes, course being like the operator ratio, as I understand it anyway. Not that I'm FM is too much math for me most of the time, but FM overdrive, nice. Oh, that's really handy, that double tap patch. Thanks for that. Yeah, so as I understand it, if you want to set up 4 operator FM or any of the other FM types, it's really just a matter of setting up the modulation sources in certain ways. Each one of the samples essentially acts as an operator in the FM algorithm, so you can do as you please, pretty much. Yeah, let's turn off the delay. Send off. Let's see what else we can do with this. Oh, let's use pulse. Oh, even more fun with noise. I wonder if we can also send this envelope here to track 7. No, I was hoping that we could modify some of those parameters from here, but I don't think you can. Plus minus 12, okay. Yes, and there was that thing about adding the envelopes too, if you want to do that. Which I believe, so you would go about doing that by, let's get rid of this first. Taking a second envelope and saying source clone 1. Or actually, this could actually be source envelope 1 start, so it triggers at the same time. And what's in this to volume 2. There we go. Let's play some lower notes, sure. And go back to sine. Oops, right. And let's change this back to, there we go. We can mess around with that other envelope, of course. Loop's not going to be very good, but yep, I was just getting on that, yeah. Oh, that's nice. get a bit of FM bass drum kind of thing going on there. And if we set the second operator to a sine, which, yep, we're on sine. And we turn up the volume. Yeah, now it's getting very percussive. And then we turn off FM boost. No, it's all good. I appreciate the assistance because, as I said, FM is not my forte. I just know it's a thing that exists and sometimes makes fun sounds and a lot of times makes really harsh sounds whenever I try it. Okay, so we talked about most of the sample stuff that was new. Oh, sorry, one sec. Microphone keeps giving me troubles. Okay, so let's get into the other really major cool thing that was added. Okay, before I do that, I'll turn up the chorus a little higher. Turn the fine down. Does it navigate in? Yeah, it does in octaves if you use shift up. Oh, there we go. Now you're really getting the bass drum kick. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I do for a scene. FM requires too much math for me most of the time, but doing it here is actually not too bad because there's it's not as abstract, at least for the simple 2-op setup, as it can be in some other things. So I can mess around with stuff that seems to make sense. All right, let's get into the other thing. So tables. There's been a lot of changes to tables. Yes, the first and second envelopes were very short. There's been a lot of changes to tables. So one of which is you can now have tables on patches, or not on patches, sorry, tables on audio tracks, which is cool. So let's just find that little FX thing. Where is it? You might wonder how, and I also wondered how initially you can have tables here because there's no table row, but if you just hit OK, it gives you a new table. And then you can go into the table. I think actually you can also go into the table by OK on here. Oh no, you can't. Okay. So tables. You probably see that this changed drastically. Yes. Yes, it did. So there's a bunch of new options now for quantization and randomization in here. So let's see how we can set this up. Let's see what we talk about first is maybe the presets. There's rates this, yes, they are. So the presets you can get to by the nerd menu. There's a whole bunch of them in here, including like random, double in terms of ratcheting, triplet ratchetings, and then chords, so many chords. So if we take, for example, let's do one that I like, which I found in my last little stream, which was the 9th, I think, minor. Yeah. Apparently this is eventually going to change to go back to the table immediately when you hit OK, but for now it doesn't. So now we have a minor chord going in here. If we play what we had, of course it's a little crazy. Let's turn off the FM just to make sure we're nice and clear here. So I'll turn down the speed. Still also going to be actually hard to hear. One sec. I forgot to set quantize. This is an important thing you always have to do, set quantize. So there's a quantize option here. If you don't set it, this does not as much as you'd think. There's up, low, or coin toss options. So it either jumps to the next highest note that's in the same set of allowed notes that you have here, or it jumps to the next lowest one, or it's a coin toss and it picks one. I'll use coin, and I think this should work now. Maybe not. Did I set the table? Let's see. Yes. Oh, of course, probably the envelope. All right, you know what? Let's do this on a simple pattern instead. It's easier to do this way. We already had this one, so we'll do it here. But you can set tables on sample tracks now, which is nice. So we'll take. Oh, I guess we can't. I guess you can't share tables between the two different types of tracks. Looks like interesting. All right. Well, go back to that preset again. Yeah, you were right. It was the envelope. So we're going to ignore the sample track now. This, of course, goes very fast. Let's... Whee! Let me turn down the dampening. Fun. Okay, we're going to turn down the speed again. So now you can really simply get chord arpeggios out of this very, very quick, which is nice. There's been a few different types added too. You might notice the forward caret or whatever. So that's forward set with resync. Now it's forward in a normal loop, a one shot, as you've probably seen before. You can also go backwards. That gets resynced on every time the tables comes up. Backwards in a loop, backwards one shot, and ping pong, which is cool. All right, so the other thing, actually I was wrong about quantize, by the way, earlier. So this is already a preset, so it knows exactly how much to jump things around in. So let's change this instead and use different preset. Actually, the random preset is just going to give me a completely random table, right? Oops. Oh, also, you can navigate tables now by holding table and up and down, which is also very nice. Yes, so that's what we're going to get into now. Let's set up a very short one here. We'll just do a hop here. So if you set the range, which you can set by shift left and right, and shift left and right controls the lower range, shift up and down controls the upper range. So let's, I don't know, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll do an octave range. How about that? Now you turn on quantize. Well, let's not turn on quantize yet. You can choose which notes you want to be included in the randomization side of things, or there's also this set chord where you can pick a chord that you know, sure, C sharp major, hit OK, and it sets the allowed notes for you. So now, and this is one thing to make sure you do, is set the range before you do this, otherwise this option won't show up. You can do shift delete. It will choose a random transpose. So if we set it all over the place, this is going to get crazy because thanks, Uneven, I appreciate it. Yes, if you don't set the range first, you won't see random, but right now you might notice it's completely random. It's within this range, but it's completely random. But if I set quantize on, now we're in C sharp major. I can also set it to coin toss, as I said, which I really like. Because then it's even more randomized. Sometimes a note will go up to the next quantized step. Sometimes it'll drop down to the lower quantized step. Let's change to minor. Slow this down too. Yeah, 6 is good. So that's one of the aspects of random, and then there's another sort of semi-controlled, well, it's actually not really even random, but if you hit Shift Delete again, you get this triple caret thing. This picks a value from the allowed notes range, and it's sort of like a, not like a shift register, but like, I guess sort of. So the first time that you see this, it's gonna pick a C sharp. The next time you see it, it picks an E. The next time you see it, it picks a G sharp, and then it loops around, right? So like if I was to delete, let's delete most of these. So we do this, and we do it here, and we'll do it here. So now we're getting just the chord playing inside of it, right? It's not necessarily something inside of the range, but we're getting exactly the allowed notes that are listed. So I think that's pretty cool to combine it with the randomization. So let's. So now you can sort of develop a pattern that's got like it almost reminds me of marbles and the déjà vu setting, in that you can have a sort of pattern that's fixed, kind of running in the background, that doesn't really change that much, and then you have randomization injected into it, but you're still in key, which is nice. Oh, and the other thing is that these ignore the bass note, I believe. Like, so of course this is set on a table that's on a C2, for instance. This ignores it and plays this note. It doesn't like transpose or anything like that. I think is that what I understand it as from the manual. Correct me if I'm wrong, Thomas. Yeah, similar to IntelliJ Scales. I could definitely see that level of similarity there for sure. All right, we did the tables for audio tracks, we did the backwards and ping pong, we talked about navigation, we did the randomization. I'm very much looking forward to that video output module, because it'll be much easier to see this screen when I don't have to have it off a webcam. All right, I am correct. Cool, excellent. All right, let's see what else we can do with this. So we got this in C# minor. Let's see what else we can do. What kind of other weird things can we generate alongside this? Let's make a brand new audio track. We'll change the pattern length again. Something a little, oops, not thinking in hex today. Let's do it a little longer than the other pattern was. And let's try to get something that's completely random. So what we'll do is we'll set a note using the sine operator for now, or the sine waveform for now. We'll choose a table. Oh, no. Okay, well, we're making table 12, sure. We'll choose a table. We will choose a preset here. Let's take a... well, no, let's not. Let's, what's a random thing gonna do? So we got a random length to the table. I don't actually want it to be a random length. What was the length of our pattern? Length of our pattern was 0A, so let's do that. Here, we'll hop back to 0. Oop, no. And let's just insert a whole bunch of random. And maybe a couple of spots where we do this. We will not delete. Give it like a few more gaps. Something like this. We'll make sure that we have a range set. Let's not have it go up. Let's have it only, oops, go down. A bunch. And we'll quantize it. And we are already in C# minor. Yes, I very much appreciate having Thomas here, not only to correct me when I inevitably screw things up, but I'm glad that everyone gets the opportunity to ask him some questions. Okay, so we got this pattern set up with this table. We need to set up the table speed here again so that it matches. I think it's 0.6, or is it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 8? I think it's 12 actually that matches the speed of the other pattern. Let's see what we get here. I think we're too low. Oh, pattern, maybe I didn't get the table speed right. And we need the envelope too, of course. Let's make the envelope much longer because, so this will be the interesting thing, of course, is that the envelope's not getting re-triggered by each table step. Although, can we do that? Oh, we can, look at that. I think that should work, right? Oh, I'm glad I didn't mess up too much. I think I should be able to do this, right? Trigger the envelope from a table step. Wait. Doesn't it? I probably have to change the source to not be. No, okay, so. Or wait, do I have to give this a value? I bet you I have to give this a value, don't I? Maybe not. Oh, just a retrig. Okay. That will make sense. Let's change this back to what I had, which was track 7 audio 1. Oh, I changed, whoops, by doing that I changed all the values of everything. That was funny. No offset. And hold on, sustain down. A bit more tech. Okay, and now in the table, instead of these end ones, we oh, I can't mark in tables, right? Find a retrig. RTRG, where are you? There we go. Okay. There we go. That's more like what I was expecting to get. Okay. Now what does this sound like? No, it's all good. It's all good. All right, so this is already very cool. This is the sort of stuff that I've said in my previous streams that I wanted out of the other sequencer that I've been really happy with, which is, or that I've wanted from to take over from the vector sequencer, which I used previously. And at this rate, I'm not going to be using anymore because the NerdSEQ's been pretty amazing. This now does what I wanted out of the vector. Is it possible to decrease the contrast for the camera? All the menus are white, really? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I see what you mean. You mean like the NerdSEQ menus? Or all the select? Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Let's see if I can. Give me 1 second. I'll see if I can turn down the contrast here. Oh my goodness. Wow, nope. Maybe the brightness. Nope, interesting. I don't know why. My camera is very much not interested in picking up that, very much not interested in picking up that menu. Strange. Maybe the white balance, hang on. Nope. Exposure perhaps? Oh wait, here we go. There we go. Is that better? Hopefully that's better. Let me know. Screen's very bright apparently. Alright, so now you should be able to see everything that's going on in here. Yes. I have not gotten around to change the colors. I changed the font as the first thing I did because I found the default font to not be so nice, but I have not changed the colors, it's true. Alright, let me go back into this pattern. I want to add a delay. I'm curious if I can add a delay at a later stage here. Of course, I need to stop everything because otherwise the... Excellent. I'm glad it's better. I should have done this before. It's way more readable now. Just messing around with delay now. Let's see what we can... That's awesome. Because now I want to turn it on for a little bit. And then I want to... turn it off, which I guess turning it off would be equivalent of just turning off the delay sound. Let's move this around a little bit. Maybe we'll turn it on here. It's actually interesting that the pattern has changed a little bit. I think I must have, when I was scrolling through effects while everything was playing, I probably set something a little weird, so I think I can do reset track effects. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Got rid of my table selector. Where's my tables? Table. There. Yeah, that would be nice actually to have delay divisions. Yep, definitely. Turn up the range a bit. Let's have this be oh, I forgot to mention too, there's two different versions of ping pong. When you're looking at the looping for the table side of things, there's a normal ping pong loop, which if you notice hits the end and turns around immediately, and there's ping pong extra, which like I think it does an extra one extra at the end because it pauses for a second. So all right, since we got the trigger thing set up here, why don't we let's get rid of its table, but let's do some Euclidean stuff. See where I can send that to do something fun or different. See what I've got to make something cool with. Oops. With a bit longer of a cable, as is the theme for my stream. Oops, and trigger, not. And let's see what we can get out of that. Ooh, not that loud. I thought I didn't actually have the, let's see what we did here. Sorry, one sec, we were on, this guy. And actually I believe I turned off, yeah, I did turn off the mod. All right, let's use a different. A little easier to hear now. Ah, the master steps of your sequence, nice. That's good to know. So yeah, now we got some use of the Euclidean triggers as well. Just gonna listen to just this track for a sec. Still want to get the delay right because I think that I've not quite done it here. You can probably answer this for me, Thomas. Is there any way to go through the FX slots while a pattern's playing without accidentally changing something you don't intend to have changed? Add a second wave, keep the clone, but don't do FM. Unmute the second wave and course to plus. All right, let's try it. Let me just get this delay turned on here first since we were doing that. All right, so we'll add a second wave, clone, but no FM. Okay. We're already cloned, but we won't mute it anymore, and we'll do course up 12, right? Got a selector in mind. Cool. Excellent. That's nice. I like it. Yeah, that's what I was doing actually, but... Ah, there we go. It's a little more difficult to hear until I turned it way up, but yeah, there we go. How does this sound in context? I'm gonna change a sample here. Just 1 second. Ooh. Too loud. Got a very Sega Genesis vibe to it right now. Change the hi-hats a little bit. Yes, let's change the envelope again. So we go back in here, which was this one, which we set to be firing at the same time as the envelope 1 start, which makes sense. So, woo! Woo! Yeah, synth programming via text. Yes, it's makes sense. What other features can we throw in here into this little pattern that we haven't used before that's in this new thing? We already did Euclidean. Let's see about the automators. Let's do that because we didn't really do much of that, which is setting an automator to one of the envelopes as well. To turn it on, I believe. Yep. So where should we send this out to? Let's turn it off until we decide. So we could like use this, for instance, to send out to. Are we using the envelopes in here? I can't remember. I don't. Yeah, we aren't. It's only on the sample tracks, right? So, but we could send the envelope out to something from the first track. So, for instance, the first track's going into rings, so let's see what we could do with that. We send this out into track 1's mod out, and let's see what that does. We can make this have some fun times with rings. Sometimes I think that should be what my channel's called. So yeah, this is about being able to send envelopes to all sorts of different places if you want to. What's going to be brightness? I think what we'll probably have to do here is turn down the amplitude. So if we listen to that on its own here. You can hear the envelope. Whoa. That's a sound I haven't heard from rings before. Yeah, the live recording is something I still have not played with very much, but I want to, and I actually probably will be this weekend. So that's cool. That made for some weird effects. Let's do something else here too, because I remember I talked about that you can trigger the envelopes, so you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here on this, Thomas, but I should be able to force that envelope to trigger from another track here, right? If I find the, oops, let's stop so that I don't mess something up here. We'll find envelope 1. Or wait, actually, I think I have this wrong. I should double check because I think envelope 1 actually changes the values of envelope 1, right? See if I can find it real quick before Thomas tells me which one it is. Yeah, envelope settings, right. Okay, so setting the envelope gate is actually 100. That's what I'm missing, is this part down here. Right. So I should be able to gate the envelope an extra time here, I think. Let's see. If I stop everything and only play this track. Yep, definitely. So that's cool. You can I can influence the envelope that actually is also influencing the volume of this track from an entirely different track if I want to. Ah, there's a trigger. 102. Got it. Yep, I see it. 100. Oops, 100 and 1, 2. There we go. So now it's definitely triggering on its own. All right, in context. Man, that is some crazy sounds from rings. This is about the least ambient thing I've done on this channel in a very long time, but I mean, I'm definitely going to be using the oscillators on the sample side of things with these envelopes, because it's really handy to have a couple of extra ones that's all in one box and you don't have to really mess with anything aside from filters if you wanted to. But of course, filters, you could throw that across, you could throw your envelope out of a mod output or things like that and control a filter while you're at it. So yes, that's what I'm seeing in here now, is that you can change the type. So in that end thing that we were looking at here, there's a whole bunch of different things. You can gate the envelope, but you can also set attack, decay, sustain, release, the offset, change the types. Like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. It is not the usual. Yes, you are totally right about that. All right, anything else that I missed going over? Let me see. We already talked about all of that. Let's, because we didn't do it, let's set up a chained envelope. So we're already using envelopes 1 and 2, but let's chain together 3 and 4 for sake of argument here. So if we make a one-shot envelope, the source here, let's make it not have a source. We're going to trigger this envelope separately. The source of this one needs to be the end of envelope 3. And destination will send this out to, send it out to mod 2 for sake of argument. I think this one doesn't actually need a source or destination at all, which is cool. So let's make something weird. Let's offset it a bit for some reason, and here we'll make a really long attack with less of a peak, short decay, and a longer release. How do you activate the screensaver, or do you just let it sit? I definitely liked the new boot menu. It's nice. Okay, so we should have these envelopes chained together now and coming out of mod 2 when it gets triggered. So let's trigger it from something and we'll see. I'm gonna set it up in the automation table just so that we can see it happening. Is it possible to trigger a random sample from a preloaded samples per trig? Ah, yes, I guess if I set it to 1 minute, good point. Let's see if I can do that. Screensaver. Oh, it's not even on. There we go. Okay, what was I doing? Actually, shouldn't I be able to see this from... Oh, no. All right, let's wait for the screensaver. Let's see what this looks like, because I haven't seen it yet. Is it possible to trigger random samples from preloaded samples per trig? I believe yes, you can. You can even have an FX slot that loads an entire new set of 7 samples. I haven't played with it, but yes, you can. If anyone else has any other questions or things you want me to go over, by the way, feel free. The only thing left is this chained envelope, which we'll do once we see the screensaver in probably like 30 to 45 seconds. And again, I gotta say big thanks to Thomas for all of this. I actually didn't realize you were the only one working on this, so seriously impressive. Both as a eurorack module, and for me being a developer, knowing what could go into this. So ooh, look at this screensaver. Ooh. Very nice. I like it. Oh. Sit here and stare at this for a while. Does it show? Oh, it does even show up pretty well. There's a bit of refresh artifacting, but like, and it's a little bit more colorful on the, or a little bit more saturated in on the video than it is in real life, but very nice. Look at that. Okay. All right, let's see about these chained envelopes again. So I actually don't necessarily need this. I just need to trigger the envelope. Which one did we set? We set envelope 3 was the first one. Oh, and actually I should set the destination of this, shouldn't I? It needs to be out to mod 2, because it's going to play one envelope and then the next envelope. Yeah. Okay, so now if here I trigger envelope 2, oh, no, stop. Envelope 2, 102 to trigger. Can you add the BBC clown? All right, so now we should be triggering this other envelope here. Let's put that somewhere interesting. That was out of mod 2 in this case. I'm just going to take out the other one so that we can make sure we hear this right. So we got mod on 2, which if we go into here is where the envelopes are coming out. don't think I'm triggering it here though. Don't chain through automators. Got it. Okay. This is rings making sounds, or was and was previously before. Yeah, I'm looking and I don't actually see it trigger. Oh, did I choose the right envelope? I chose envelope 2. Whoops. 3, 1, 0, 2. I put it into FM so that you can really hear it. Let's watch this go here. Of course, it's probably a little too fast, I would suspect here. Yeah, it is triggering, you can just see it. Let's give this a probability instead. For sake of argument, I'll set it here. Where's my FX probability? It does sound like it's being wound up, yeah. Alright, we can turn off FX probability. Or well, I guess 64 to make sense. Okay. So we should not always trigger this now. Let's see. I definitely can hear it going. Just gotta catch it when it hits the random step. Oh, there we go. Ooh, that's actually quite long. I like it. Might be getting re-triggered though too. Yeah, I think it'd eventually get re-triggered. It's in some minutes, alright, wow. Turn it down a bit. Turn this one down a bit too. Now we can really see it. Yeah, it's triggering one, then triggering the other. This is going to be really wacky with the... Again, sounds I don't think I've ever made out of rings. So yeah, there we go, chained envelopes together. Like a mini Zadar. Cool. Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions or things they want to see? Because I think I've actually gone over most of the major stuff that's in here. I think there's a few little minor other things, bug fixes and whatnot. Read the release notes; they're pretty in depth. But like, this is a big change and a big bump forward, and especially for me doing ambient stuff and wanting this randomization and this kind of thing. It's really awesome. So, yeah. Speak up if anyone has anything else. Of course, Thomas is also here, so feel free to ask him any questions as you like. Put everything back on. This is the noisiest Rings has ever been. It's hilarious. Oh, you missed seeing the screensaver? Here, I'll stop everything and I'll let you see the screensaver again. It's very trippy. I could kind of stare at it for a long time. Eventually, it'll get there. Come on. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this continues to make NerdSEQ into one of the most, if not the most powerful sequencer. Quite complex, as you might have seen, but once you start to get your head around it, it's not bad. I mean, for those of you who've been around in my stream for a bit, I got one, played around with it with just having basically read the manual a little bit, and that's it. And I've been playing around with it since, not a huge amount, and I've gotten into some pretty advanced stuff in it. There you go. There's your screensaver. Yes, it's much less ambient. This is a demo, not trying to make music that I would typically make. But I mean, the randomization and all the scales and stuff like that is going to make it much easier to make the music that I make. So there you go. There's the new screensaver. Okay. If nobody has anything else, then I think we've covered everything. Unless there's anything else, Thomas, you think we should cover? Speak up. We'll give it a minute for chat delay, because it's actually, the chat delay on YouTube is quite bad right now. Oh, a video synth expander. Yeah, that would be cool. I've never got into video synthesis, but I've always thought that would be interesting. I want the HDMI out first. That's what I want. The screensaver only comes on when nothing's playing, unfortunately. Although that would be cool, eh? But considering everything else that the NerdSEQ does while it's playing, I imagine there's not much CPU power left to do this. All right, great. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out and chatting, and thanks very much, Thomas, for for coming by. I gotta say, for being a pretty small streamer, I never really expected to get the manufacturer showing up for stuff like this. So it's super appreciated. And again, very good job. And yeah, so thanks everyone. I would say at this point I am about 90% certain that this is staying in my rack and that I'm selling my vector sequencer. So just for those of you who have been keeping score of where I've been at in my overall impressions, I'm getting pretty close. So okay, well, everyone, you all have a great rest of your weekends. And if you have any other questions about features on here, feel free to drop comments. I'll answer what I can, or if not, I can refer you to the forums where Thomas is very good at answering stuff. So again, thanks everybody. Take care and have a good one.